They said you couldn't, and maybe at first you didn't even question it. You were too young to know what doubt really meant. You just felt it, a quiet chill, like winter whispering through the cracks of a childhood meant to be warm. You heard it not in what they said, but in what they didn't. The way their eyes looked away when you spoke your dreams. The way they smiled, tight-lipped, thin, forced, when you said you wanted to be something more. That was the beginning. That was when the seed was planted. Not all wounds are sharp. Some are soft, lingering, silent, the kind that burrow deep without ever drawing blood. You remember being a child full of fire, of ideas too big for the rooms you were forced to fit in. But the world around you had other plans. It measured you with rulers you never agreed to, told you what was realistic, what was practical, what was possible. You were told to stay in line. Not directly. Oh no, they were smarter than that. It was more subtle. The way they scoffed when you showed enthusiasm. The way they nodded approvingly when you shrank. The way the world rewarded smallness and punished ambition, disguised as imagination. You started to shrink without knowing. You started folding your light like laundry, tidy, quiet, tucked away. You learned how to blend in before you ever learned how to speak your truth. And the worst part? You thought it was your fault. You thought something was wrong with you for wanting more, for feeling different, for dreaming. That voice, it started as theirs, but over time, it became yours. That echo, you can't, you won't. Who do you think you are? You started repeating it back to yourself. You didn't even need them anymore. Their doubts had taken root. They grew into vines that wrapped around your lung, choking your courage, squeezing your voice. You remember that classroom, don't you? Or that dinner table, or that locker room, or that job interview. Wherever it was, it's burned into your memory like a scar that never fades. The moment you spoke up, and the world laughed, or worse, ignored you. The silence stung more than any insult. The silence said, "You're invisible. You don't matter. Go back to being small." And so you did, for a while. But even then, something inside you refused to die. A flicker, a pulse. It was faint, but it was there. Underneath the layers of shame and silence, there was still a part of you that wanted to scream, that wanted to burn the whole damn rule book and write your own name across the sky. Still, back then, you didn't know how. You were just a kid in a world that worshipped conformity. You were made to believe that survival meant surrendering, that fitting in was the price of peace, that safety was more valuable than truth. They dressed it up, didn't they? They called it being realistic. They said it like they were doing you a favor, cutting your wings so you wouldn't fall too far. But you never asked to be protected from flight. You wanted the sky, not the cage. You wanted the climb, not the comfort. But they didn't see that, or maybe they did, and that's what scared them. Because people don't doubt the weak. They ignore them. But they fear the ones who show even a spark of something greater. And when they saw that in you, they panicked. They tried to snuff it out before it became something they couldn't control. And so they said you couldn't. They said it in whispers, in glances, in shrugs. They said it in policy and punishment, in sermons and silence, in sarcasm and system. They said it so many times, in so many ways, you stopped noticing it. You just started believing it. You started lowering your voice. You started second-guessing your steps. You started apologizing for wanting more. You started fading into the background, praying that maybe, just maybe, someone would reach in and pull you out. But no one did, because this world isn't kind to those who don't conform. It doesn't rescue the rebel. It crucifies them. And you were too young to know how to carry that kind of cross. So you swallowed the doubt. You wore it like skin. You built a life around what you thought was possible, and left your passion buried in a shallow grave marked someday. But the thing about grave is that sometimes the dead don't stay buried, and neither did you. They didn't chain you with steel. No, that would have been too obvious, too easy to fight. Instead, they wrapped you in invisible threads, delicate as spider silk, but strong enough to hold your soul in place. These weren't shackles of metal. They were systems, smile, rules passed down like scripture. Be good. Be quiet. Be what we expect. You were molded not by force, but by repetition. Conditioned, not corrected. You didn't see the cage because it looked like a classroom. It looked like a dinner table. It looked like home. The teachers told you what success looked like, and it didn't look like you. It looked like compliance. It looked like neat handwriting and quiet obedience. You learned how to sit still for hours, how to ask for permission to speak, how to trade curiosity for grades. You learned to fear failure, not because it meant you hadn't tried, but because it meant you didn't fit. The system didn't care what lit you up inside. It only cared that you stayed in line. And the parents, the ones who loved you, the ones who tried, sometimes they were the worst of all. Not because they meant harm, but because their fear wore the mask of protection. Get a stable job. Don't take risks. That's not realistic. You heard it over and over like a lullaby meant to keep you asleep. But love that's rooted in fear can sound a lot like control. And control, even when it's gentle, is still a cage. You started to see it everywhere. In the way your friends laughed when you spoke of big dreams. In the way adults praised the predictable. In the way people who looked like you, spoke like you, dreamed like you, kept getting told to be more practical. What they really meant was, be more like us, be less like you. They dressed it up in advice, polished it with concern. We just want what's best for you, they said. But best was a box with no air holes, and you knew deep down that what was best for them had nothing to do with what was right for you. They told you not to reach too high, not because they didn't want you to succeed, but because your success would remind them of their own surrender. People who've buried their dreams will always flinch when they see someone chasing theirs. So they handed you a script. Go to school, get the job, keep your head down, don't question, don't challenge, don't dream too loud. And if you stepped off the path, even for a moment, the pressure came down, cold and silent, like winter, a teacher's disapproval, a parent's sigh, a friend's smirk. They didn't have to yell. Disappointment was its own punishment. Shame became the leash. You weren't punished with pain. You were punished with distance, with being left out, with being too much. That's the trick, isn't it? You don't need to chain someone who's afraid to walk. You don't need a prison when the prisoner builds their own. And so you did. You built one. You told yourself to stop asking questions. You told yourself to play small. You told yourself it was better this way, safer, easier. But deep down, you knew it was a lie, because the life they wanted for you didn't fit you. It scratched at your skin like wool. It left you restless, hollow, hungry for something you couldn't name. You saw others live by the same rule and die with their music still in them. You saw people retire with regrets. You saw talent buried beneath bills and mortgages and mortgages and more bills. You saw people who once dreamed like giants now speak like ghosts. And you began to wonder, is this all there is? They didn't chain you with steel. They did something far worse. They taught you how to chain yourself with manners, with fear, with quiet desperation. But the funny thing about invisible chains, once you see them, you can break them. There's a kind of silence that doesn't come from peace. It comes from screaming inside and realizing no one's listening, from sharing your dreams with people who nod politely, but whose eyes say, you'll never make it, from standing in rooms full of people and still feeling like a ghost. That's the silence you drowned in, not the absence of sound, but the absence of belief. You were surrounded, weren't you? Surrounded by friends who smiled, who laughed at your jokes, who tagged you in posts and said they had your back. But deep down, you knew. You felt it. They didn't believe in you. Not really. They liked you best when you were unsure. They were comfortable with your struggle because it made them feel better about their own stagnation. But when you started to dream bigger, to speak louder, to move differently, they went quiet. Or worse, they mocked you. Subtle jabs, half jokes with whole truths behind them. and you laughed, because it was easier than confronting the loneliness of outgrowing people who said they cared. Ambition, real ambition, the kind that burns and consumes, isolates you. It sets you apart, because most people are afraid of that kind of fire. They talk about success, but they don't chase it. They romanticize the grind, but never commit to the suffering. So when you did, when you decided that mediocrity would never be enough, they didn't know how to handle you. You became a mirror, reflecting their comfort back at them. And they hated what they saw, so they pulled away. Or maybe you did. Maybe you stopped calling. Maybe you got tired of explaining why you couldn't hang out, why you were up late building, why your weekends looked like war zones filled with goals and deadlines instead of drinks and distractions. Maybe you started hiding your passion because you didn't want to make them uncomfortable. Or maybe you just got sick of begging people to see you. And so, you suffered in silence. You cried in secret, nights when the world was asleep and you were wide awake, questioning everything. Nights when the voice in your head, the one that sounded like every doubter you'd ever met, grew louder than your own hope. It whispered things you were afraid to admit. You're not good enough. You're wasting your time. You're never going to make it. And maybe, for a while, you believed it. Because belief is hard to hold on to when no one around you carries any. When your victories are small, invisible to the outside world, and your failures feel like avalanches. When progress moves like molasses, and the weight on your chest won't let you breathe. You start to wonder if you're delusional, if you're chasing shadows, if the dream you thought was destiny was just a fantasy wrapped in desperation. There were moments, dark, raw, unfiltered, when you sat in that silence and thought about giving up. Not because you didn't want it anymore, but because you didn't know if you could take another step without breaking. It's hard to keep walking when the road disappears beneath you. It's hard to keep fighting when the only punches being thrown are inside your own head. Hopelessness isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the slow erosion of faith, the gradual fading of color from your world, the numbness that creeps in and convinces you that settling might not be the worst thing, that maybe comfort is enough, that maybe you've asked for too much. But deep down, even in that silence, you knew something else, didn't you? You knew the silence wasn't there to break you. It was there to build you, to strip away the noise, to teach you that belief can't be borrowed, that if you're going to rise, you have to do it from the bottom, alone, in the dark, without applause, because that's where warriors are born, not in crowds, not on stages, but in solitude, in the stillness, in the pain, and the silence. That was your ford. There comes a moment in every journey, brutal and unrelenting, when the enemy shows its face. But it's not a monster with claws, not a villain cloaked in darkness. No, it's more subtle than that, more familiar, more intimate. It's them, the ones who said, you, never. The ones who laughed when you dared to dream, who looked at you like you were reaching too far, aiming too high, asking too much. They didn't always shout. Sometimes their words were quiet, condescending. It's just not realistic. People like us don't make it there. You should have a backup plan, each sentence a blade coated in concern. They framed their disbelief as wisdom, their fear as logic. But you felt the venom beneath the velvet. You remember the moments? You remember their asterisk faces, the ones who wrote you off before you ever began. Teachers who underestimated you, friends who vanished when you needed them, bosses who crushed your ideas under the weight of their ego, family members who told you to be grateful instead of great. They weren't just doubting your dream, they were doubting you. But the worst part, the most dangerous enemy, was the one that started speaking in your own voice, because eventually you began to wonder if they were right. The voice inside you, that once roared with fire, started to stutter, to shrink. It started repeating their words, echoing their doubts. It said, you're not special. You don't have what it takes. You're pretending. You're going to fail. You should quit. That voice didn't yell. It whispered. And sometimes that whisper was more terrifying than any scream, because it knew exactly where to strike. It knew your fears, your insecurities. It knew the wounds behind your armor. It didn't need to break you with force. It only needed to convince you. Convince you to stop, to let go, to settle. And for a while, you almost did. You got tired, bone deep, soul worn. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the kind that sinks into your spirit. You looked at your reflection and didn't recognize the person staring back. Just a shell, just a survivor, just someone holding on by a thread, pretending to be okay. There were nights you sat at the edge, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, looking down into the abyss of quitting. You thought, maybe they're right. Maybe I've gone as far as I can. Maybe I'm not meant to win. The cliff's edge became familiar. You knew the shape of that fall. You could feel it calling to you. The seduction of surrender. The tempting lie that quitting would be easier than continuing to believe in something no one else could see. You were that close. One more failure. One more disappointment. One more silent night with nothing to show for your fight. And you might have walked away, but something kept you standing. A flicker, a sound, a breath. Call it defiant. Call it instinct. Call it the last gasp of your truest self. But it rose. Not loudly, not heroically, but just enough to hold you back from the fall. And in that moment, the war became clear. It wasn't just you versus the world. It was you versus the version of yourself. They tried to build. The one that doubted, the one that feared, the one that believed them more than you believed, you. The villain wasn't just out there. The villain was in here. But so was the warrior. There's a sound that comes before transformation. It's not a scream. It's not a sob. It's the shatter. The moment something inside you, breaks. Clean, violent, irreversible. It might have been a rejection. Another door slammed shut. Another no, when your soul was begging for yes. Or maybe it was the moment you realized they were never going to believe in you. That no apology, no performance, no achievement would ever be enough to silence their doubt. And something inside you, something deep, snapped. But not in weakness, in awakening. You felt the heat rise. Your hands clenched. Your breath came sharp and short. Not from panic, but from power. The kind that simmers beneath years of silence, building pressure like a volcano nobody saw coming. The kind of rage born not from hate, but from pain. Repressed, compressed. Ready. Rage is not the enemy. They want you to believe that. They want you quiet, polite, manageable. They want you healed before you've even grieved. But rage, it's honest. It's pure. It says, I've had enough. It says, no more. And in that moment, you stopped begging to be seen. You decided to be undeniable. You looked around at your life, at the broken promises, the half-hearted support, the limits imposed on your name, and something rose in your chest like fire licking the edge of dry paper. Not the desire for revenge, not bitterness, but resistance. A line was drawn. No more shrinking, no more apologizing, no more waiting for permission to be powerful. You thought, if I go down swinging. Not because the odds had shifted, not because the road got easier, but because for the first time, your pain had a purpose. Your suffering had become fuel. The tears you cried weren't wasted. They were kindling. Every betrayal, every doubt, every failure was a log tossed into the fire that now burned inside you. The world didn't see the ember, but you felt it. This wasn't the end. It was the ignition. It didn't begin with fireworks, no dramatic declaration, no standing ovation. It started in the silence, where no one was watching. After the rage had cracked you open, after the fire took root in your chest, you made a decision, not to scream louder, but to move differently. This was your quiet rebellion. No more telling people your plans. No more trying to convince doubters with words. You went underground, into the shadows, where real change is born. While they slept, you built. While they laughed, you studied. While they wasted hours chasing comfort, you bled into your purpose, alone, in silence, without applause. It was cold there, lonely, the kind of loneliness that eats at your ribs, whispers, no one will ever notice, and dares you to stop. But you didn't. You couldn't, because something inside you knew. This was the season of asterisk becoming. Asterisk. An asterisk becoming asterisk doesn't ask for attention. It demands sacrifice. So you traded comfort for consistency, parties for progress, validation for vision. No one clapped when you stayed up until 3 a.m. No one saw you staring at the screen, the page, the weights, the mirror, questioning everything, but still continuing. No one celebrated the small win. No one understood the war you were fighting just to asterisk stay in the game. And still, you showed up, day after day. You weren't chasing motivation anymore. That burned out long ago. What you had now was deeper, darker, something forged in pain and sharpened in silence. Asterisk, discipline. Asterisk. You built in the shadows what you would one day reveal in the light. They didn't see it. They weren't asterisk meant asterisk too. Not yet. At first, pain felt like the enemy. A thief, a curse, an unwelcome shadow that never left your side. Every setback, every failure, every loss, it felt like punishment, like life was trying to break you. But something shifted. Over time, you stopped flinching. You stopped asking, why me? You started asking, what is this teaching me? That's when pain changed. It stopped being a predator and became our asterisk mentor. Asterisk. It wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to asterisk, develop asterisk you, to chisel away the weak parts, to burn off the illusion, to harden your will into something unbreakable. You looked at your scars differently, not as reminders of failure, but as asterisk-proof asterisk that you survived. Asterisk-proof asterisk that you endured what was meant to end you, that you stood in the fire and learned how to breathe smoke. The world teaches you to avoid struggle, to chase comfort, to seek ease, but you learned the secret. Asterisk growth is hidden in discomfort. Pain is the classroom where greatness is taught. It teaches you patience when things fall apart. It teaches you humility when your ego gets loud. It teaches you focus when the noise of life tries to drown your purpose. You started to love the struggle, not because it was easy, but because you asterisk knew asterisk it was working. You embraced the hard days. You welcomed the setbacks, because now you understood. Every challenge was shaping you into someone stronger, someone wiser, someone ready. Pain didn't stop, but now, neither did you. You walked with it, you learned from it, and in doing so, you made it your ally. They laughed. Of course they did, because all they could see was the surface, the stillness. They didn't see the storm brewing underneath your skin. They didn't see the hours, the grind, the failures you turned into fuel. They didn't see the pages you filled, the skills you sharpened, the tears you turned into steel. They couldn't, because you were rising in silence, sharpening in shadows, becoming dangerous, not with anger but with asterisk intention. Asterisk. They thought they knew you, but the version they mocked, that version was gone, buried beneath the discipline, replaced by something harder, colder, asterisk wiser, asterisk. You no longer needed applause. You no longer needed them to believe. You weren't chasing validation. You were chasing asterisk victory, asterisk. And victory doesn't care about spectators. You became asterisks, unrecognizable asterisk to them, and maybe even to yourself, because there was a time you waited for permission, for approval, for someone to say, now you're ready. But that day never came, so you made your own. You stopped waiting for green lights and carved your own road. You stopped asking for opportunities and started asterisk, becoming asterisk one. They didn't understand. How could they? You were no longer the underdog, no longer the quiet one, the dreamer, the maybe one day. You are an asterisk warrior asterisk now, not in armor, not with noise, but with focus, with fire, with a kind of strength that only comes from walking through hell without a map. And every time they laughed, every time they doubted, you just smiled, because they couldn't see it yet. But soon they would. The world didn't get easier. The hits didn't stop. The storms didn't grow kinder. The weight didn't lighten just because you had finally decided to rise. In fact, life hit asterisk harder. Asterisk. But this time, you hit back. You were asterisk bleeding. Asterisk, but you kept asterisk swinging. Asterisk. The kind of swing that comes from somewhere deeper than muscle. The kind that's born in memory, in the betrayal, in the heartbreak, in the dark rooms where you whispered to yourself, "I won't die like this." You had every reason to quit, and no one would have blamed you. But you knew something now, something most never learn. Asterisk, greatness has a cost, and you were ready to pay it in full. The early mornings that burned your eyes, the lonely nights where success felt like a ghost, the meals missed, the comfort sacrificed, the dreams that had to die so asterisk, better ones asterisk, could live. It hurt. But you were done choosing comfort over calling, because the pain of staying the same, of shrinking yourself to fit into their boxes, of pretending to be satisfied when your soul was starving, that pain was asterisk killing asterisk you. And so you chose the other kind, the kind that built, the kind that forged, the kind that burned, yes, but only so it could asterisk reveal what was real. Every rep, every rejection, every rough day when your body ached and your mind screamed and still, you asterisk showed up asterisk. That was war. And you were the soldier, not waiting to be rescued, not praying for easier, just rising, again and again and again, blood on your knuckles, fire in your lung, but your eyes clear, because now you weren't just dreaming about greatness, you were asterisk grinding through it. The ghosts always return, don't they? They have a way of lurking in the corners of your mind, whispering when you least expect it, when you think you're past them, when you think you've grown beyond their reach. And just like that, they show up again, wearing the same old faces. You'll never be enough. You're not cut out for this. You're fooling yourself. This is as far as you go. They come in the quiet moment, when the victories feel small and the road ahead feels impossibly long, when the loneliness creeps in again, and you start questioning if the price was ever worth it. They're there, those voices, the ones that still haunt you, the ones that told you you'd fail from the very beginning, the ones that cheered when you stumbled, the ones that whispered, "I told you so," when you got it wrong. And in those moments, you're faced with a choice. You can listen to them. You can let their poison slip into your veins and become the truth of your story. You can let their doubt drown your strength. Or you can answer back. And you're not the same person you were when those voices first arrived. You've been asterisk sharpened, asterisk refined in the fire. You've learned to speak back, not with apology, but with action, with asterisk power, asterisk. The ghosts may return, but now you answer them, not in anger, but in certainty. You respond not with words, but with your asterisk life. Asterisk, you say I'm not enough. Watch me rise. You think I'll fail? Watch me win. You told me this was impossible. Watch me make it my reality. And with every answer, with every step forward, those voices lose their power. They fade. They weaken. Because you've learned the secret, you don't need to argue with demons. You just need to outgrow them. The ghosts still linger, but now they fear your strength. They fear your resilience. They fear the version of you that no longer listens. The version of you that only asterisk answers back. There comes a moment in every true battle when you have to make a choice, asterisk. Do you keep one foot in the past, in the comfort of what's familiar, asterisk? Or do you burn the bridges and step fully into your new life? No plan B, no safety net, no half-hearted commitment. Transformation demands asterisk sacrifice, asterisk. You can't become who you're meant to be while holding on to who you used to be. You can't soar if you're still clinging to the ground. And so the time has come to burn those bridges, one by one, to walk away from the versions of yourself that no longer serve you, the excuses you've carried like old heavy baggage, the identities you've worn like armor. But that never fit you right. Maybe you told yourself you'd always be the underdog. Maybe you clung to the narrative that you weren't good enough, strong enough, smart enough to do this. Maybe you leaned on the excuse that the odds were too stacked against you, that your past would always define you, that your mistakes would always haunt you. You've held on to these things, but now it's time to let them go, because you can't have both. You can't stand in the light and keep one foot in the dark. You can't claim greatness while holding on to mediocrity. And so, you burn the bridges. You set fire to the familiar, to the crutches you leaned on, to the crumbling remnants of your former self. This is the price of transformation. This is the cost of greatness. There's no going back, no room for doubt, no room for excuses. When you leave behind the old, you step into the unknown. But this time, you do it without hesitation. You're committed, all in, and there's nothing left to hold you back. So burn the bridges, let the past crumble into ashes, and walk forward with nothing but the certainty of who you're becoming. Motivation is a myth. It's a fleeting spark that burns bright one moment and leaves you cold the next. It's the lie we tell ourselves when we wait for the right feeling to come before we take action. The lie that says, I'll do it when I'm inspired, I'll start when I'm ready. But here's the truth. You're never going to feel ready. You're never going to wake up one day and magically have the energy, the excitement, or the right mood to grind, to show up, to fight. That's not how this works. Greatness doesn't bow to motivation. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't wait for your emotions to align. Greatness demands discipline. And discipline isn't about waiting for inspiration to strike. It's about becoming mechanical, ruthless, relentless. It's about doing the work, not because you feel like it, but because you've decided that you will. It's about showing up when your body is aching, when your mind is exhausted, when every cell in your body is begging you to quit. You stop asking for motivation. You create a system, a routine, so consistent that it becomes automatic. You build rituals that don't depend on your mood. You train, whether you're happy or sad. You write, whether you're inspired or empty. You build, whether the world cheers you on or ignores you. You stop hoping for the perfect day. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You simply work. And over time, you learn something critical. Consistency breaks the curse of motivation, because it doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what the world says. You've created a machine inside of you, a relentless force that doesn't need permission. You don't need to feel great to succeed. You just need to show up. And that is how you break the curse of inconsistency. That's how you turn the tide, and that's how you build something unstoppable. There was a time when they looked at you and saw weakness. They saw your scars and whispered of fragility. They saw your doubts and laughed at your ambition.